Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we'll be doing the poem Television by Roald Dahl. Now, Roald Dahl is the favorite poet of, you can say the favorite author of so many people around here, especially if you have read stories and any books as a kid, because he's a very prolific children's writer, right? It's like he's a modern writer in English, and this writer of British origin is just, you can't express the love that kids have for him in words, right? And through this poem here, he's pointing out how televisions are harmful for kids. And this is a poem that's actually relevant in today's times, because right now, personally as well, when I go to people's places, or when some kids come over here or some students come over, there's just they are all so much, there's so much of addiction towards phones and televisions and gadgets and all. Kids are given tabs and phones from a very young age nowadays. And there's this particular habit of some Indians that they keep a phone in front of their kids and then feed them, while they watch Coco Melon or Peppa Pig or some cartoons or something. This is not the right thing to do, right? And in this poem, he's also given a solution to this problem of addiction with gadgets. So yeah, let's get started with the poem. The most important thing we've learned so far as children are concerned is never, never, never let them near your television set. Or better yet, don't install that idiotic thing at all. Okay, so he's saying that the most important thing that we need to follow with kids, as far as he has seen, is to never, and he has just written never twice in capitals, just to emphasize on that word, that this is one thing you never should do, right? And what is it? Giving your kids a television set, or giving them free access to a television set. Or better, you should not even install that thing, right? He's called it an idiotic thing. That's exactly what a television is making your kids, right? Kids nowadays just sit open mouthed in front of the television, and they're just like, they're being dumbfolded over there. Even in television, they watch something like cartoons, or they accompany their mother while watching some series and stuff. That is not what kids are supposed to do, is it? In almost every house we've been, we've watched them gaping at the screen. Gaping means staring at something open mouthed, right? So he's saying that in almost every house that Roald Dahl has been, he's seen kids gaping at the screen. They sit in the middle of the hall, or probably not even a feet away from the TV, and they're just staring at the TV. They're not even concerned about the surrounding world. They loll and slop and lounge about and stare until their eyes pop out. So he's just, they loll and slop. Loll and slop mean they're lazing around, they fall down. Slop is basically like lying shapelessly like water. So they're just lying down. They don't even have, they're not even aware of what they're doing, and they're just lounging about, meaning lazing around. Lying down, partially sitting, sometimes just standing. With their support on the wall. They're just not doing any work, no physical activity. They're just sitting around, lazing around, and staring till the eyes pop out. Now this is a hyperbole. Eyes pop out basically refers to them getting specs, because more you watch television, the more you're not giving your eyes exercise, the more you strain your eyes, more are the chances of you getting a fat speck, right? Last week in someone's place, we saw a dozen eyeballs on the floor. This is a hyperbole, very clearly. He did not see eyeballs on the floor. He's just, in a comic way, he's just exaggerating the whole deal. So there were like 6 kids watching the television. That's what he means. They sit and stare and stare and sit until they're hypnotized by it, until they're absolutely drunk with all that shocking, ghastly junk. Okay, so now they are sitting and staring and staring and sitting. That's all they do all day long, right? They just sit in a place, stare at that dumb screen, and then that's all. They have food, they use the washroom, they get fresh, they come back, they do the same thing. There's not much physical activity while kids do that, right? Until they're hypnotized by it. Hypnotized by it meaning the kids start to like the television itself so much, they're not ready to do anything else. Even their studies is affected, their relationship with their parents is also affected, right? There are so many adverse effects of letting your kids watch television for so long, until they're absolutely drunk with all the shocking, ghastly junk. What he means is, absolutely drunk means the kids become dumb, basically, right? They become vegetables, useless vegetables. They are they don't have any real world knowledge. They'll know about, whatever cartoon you tell them about. They'll know about Doraemon, they'll know about that Shin-chan, or they'll know about what Augie and the cockroaches and stuff, but they don't know anything about the real world, right? Show them Nat Geo instead, and that too for a limited time. It's still a screen that they're watching. Ghastly junk means useless junk. Ghastly is like, disgusting, horrific junk. Junk is useless stuff. Trash, you can say. Oh yes, we know it keeps them still. They don't climb out the windowsill, or they never fight or kick or punch. They leave you free to cook the lunch and wash the dishes in the sink. But did you ever stop to think? Okay, so he's saying that, yeah, I know that the television set probably keeps them still. No, kids don't do that. They just don't climb out the windowsill. Instead, they would never do that. But still, he's saying, you have so many problems. If you don't turn on the television, they would probably walk out the window, right? He's you can say exaggerating the thing. He's having some sarcasm here, you can say. Or they never fight or kick or punch. Kids fight among themselves, right? It's kind of irritating to adults sometimes to every time go and pacify them, get them aside from each other. But they are kids, they will do that, and as parents, it's your duty to look after them, right? They leave you free to cook the lunch and wash the dishes in the sink. So he's saying, yeah, if you turn on the television, they'll sit in front of the TV, and you can do your housework while they're in front of the TV. No, they'll not disturb you. Otherwise, what will kids do? Kids are curious souls, right? They'll touch anything, they'll try to know how it works, they'll ask you random questions, as in, how does the fan work? Why are plants green? Why is the sky blue? Why do I see so many colors? They'll ask you random questions. And a 5-year-old kid is the most curious thing in the world, right? That till the age of 5, your brains are, you can say, hardwired to learn each and everything. By the age of 5, the more newer things you introduce a child to, more are the chances of the child being smart and attentive, and you can say a good person, a smart kid and all, right? By the age of 6, you can teach them as many languages as you want. They learn everything very well, and you can say overachieve in those languages as well. By that age, kids are very, very comfortable learning new things. But did you ever stop to think, to wonder just exactly what this does to your beloved tot? Now he's asking, okay, you do all of this while your child is watching the TV, but did you ever think that what is this time with the TV doing with your child? What tot means, a child or a kid, There's this book also, like Tiny Tots. It means small kids. It's meant for small babies, right? It has moral stories, The Jungle Book, and these all famous fairy tales, etc. So he's asking, did you ever stop to think what, showing all this television is doing to your kid? It rots the senses in the head. It kills imagination dead. Now he's telling what this television is doing to the kid. It is rotting the senses in the head. The kid is just watching the TV, right? And hearing useless things. There was a time when every parent would hate Doraemon. It is probably still a time, I don't know. That's mostly because, they're showing a loser over there, right? Nobita, this loser kid who's always crying, going to this robot for help, and the robot brings about a magical solution which is not even available to these kids in today's days. The kids are having all these imagination things in their head, of random, what you can say, gadgets or whatever that robot gives, right? So it's basically rotting the senses in the head. The kid cannot differentiate reality from the fake cartoon world anymore. It kills imagination dead. The kid will get so accustomed to watching whatever is shown to it through the television screen that the kid will stop thinking. As a kid, my parents would not show me the television. They would instead take me out to the gardens or parks. My mother would just make me sit on the windowsill and just show me every random thing that would, every car, every bird, and all sorts of trees, plants. If we went outside, she would show me different things, the stars, the moon. She would tell me, everything is around us. There's a sun around which your earth is there. She'll tell you all sorts of things. A parent should do that with their kids, right? They should talk to their kids, show them a real world instead of showing them all of this, right? Imagination is being killed in a sense that the kid is not, imagining things himself. He's just taking in mind whatever is being told to it. Instead, if you tell kids stories, right, they will learn to imagine things and make their own moral stories themselves. So let's move on. It clogs and clutters up the mind. It makes a child so dull and blind he can no longer understand a fantasy, a fairyland. Now he's saying that it clogs and clutters up the mind. Of course, if the kid is always watching cartoons and whatever, the serials or telenovelas and stuff, it clogs and clutters up the mind. It's always those things will be in the kid's mind, right? Showing a kid television for 3 or 6 hours at a stretch, the kid will definitely not have a touch of reality. The kid will start thinking that everything in the television is all right? It's all true, it's all good. It makes a child so dull and blind. Dull and blind in a sense, it's like you can say intellectually, or by thinking capabilities kind of thing. The kid is a poor thing, right? You can say kid is like a bare page. Whatever you write on it, whatever you print on it, whatever you do to the page will be imprinted on the kid forever. And making small kids sit in front of the TV and stare at a box through which you see something that's not even real, it makes the child dull meaning you can say dumb basically, and blind meaning not able to see whatever the hidden meaning, the hidden message, or the hidden beauty in anything that's outside the TV. He can no longer understand a fantasy, a fairyland. Showing the kid false things, the kid will probably start to believe that all those things are real, right? He'll start thinking those stories, the series and everything, that's all a real thing. His brain becomes as soft as cheese. His powers of thinking rust and freeze. He cannot think, he only sees. So his brain becomes as soft as cheese, meaning it's not that actually the brain becomes softer than it is. Not like that. The brain, it's said that those who are dumb, they have a soft brain. That's what he's trying to say. His powers of thinking rust and freeze. The kid is not thinking. He is just taking in whatever rubbish information is being shown to him through the video, or whatever, the episode or the cartoon, everything. He cannot think, he only sees. He is not at all taking the effort to think now, right? He's watching a series, he laughs, he finds dumb things funny. That's all. He's not thinking at all. All right, you'll cry. All right, you'll say. But if we take that set away, what shall we do to entertain our darling children? Please explain. So he's saying that you'll say, okay, you know what? If I take that set away also, what should I do to keep the kids occupied, right? I need to do my house chores, I need to do my work, and the only thing keeping that kid from getting in my path every second of the life, of his or her life, is the television. The kid sits in front of the television set. I do all the work, I sweep, I clean the house, wash the dishes, cook food, and then get everything ready. What should I do to keep that kid occupied like that while I do my work? Now the poet, he'll be explaining the solution for this in the further paragraphs. We'll answer this by asking you, what use the darling ones do? How use they keep themselves content before this monster was invented? Now he's asking, okay, fine, you want the answer to that question? I'll answer the question in a question itself, okay? Tell me what you used to do as a kid. Now this is a question to the parents of those kids who are always watching television, right? The parents probably were not at all so addicted to the television sets, right? They had a different life. They had a lot of physical activity. They used to give enough importance to studies as well. Their parents would definitely make them sit and study. There would be different pastimes which were way better than watching a television, right? So he was asking, what would you guys do when you were kids before this monster? Again, he is referring to the television by saying a monster. Have you forgotten? Don't you know? We'll say it very loud and slow. He's saying, have you forgotten what you did as kids? Don't you remember? Don't you know? Okay, so he's saying, if you don't, let me remind you loud and slow. So he's saying, I'll tell you clearly what you guys did. They used to read. They'd read and read. He's saying that the solution to getting rid of this television addiction is books. Reading. He's saying that they read and read and read and read and then proceed to read some more. Great Scott, Gadzooks. Sorry. And he's saying that, one solution that we have, which was our own pastime, is reading. He's saying it in his, okay, he's saying that about his childhood. Reading books is just so entertaining, guys. What do I tell you? I mean, those who already read, they know a lot. If you want to start reading, if you want to start with fiction or something, there's so many things out there. One of the best things that the kids would recommend to you is Harry Potter or Percy Jackson. Reading fiction, go ahead. There are self-help books. There are books about some particular subjects or topics. There's Sudha Murthy. There's so much. There's the Shiva series, and then you have the Ramchandra series, and then your Indian writers as well. There's books in every damn language in the world. You can read anything you want, right? And the variety is so much more than a television. Great Scott Gadzooks. This is an exclamation, okay? It's just to exclaim, oh my god, Great Scott. It's like reading was such a great deal for them. They would do everything and then sit down to read. One half their lives was reading books. One half of kids' lives used to be reading books in his time. He's saying that reading books was such a huge craze among children. It's, you can say, an equivalent to television in their times. The nursery shelves held books galore, books cluttered up the nursery floor, and the bedroom by the bed, more books were waiting to be read. He's saying that books used to be filled everywhere, in the bookshelves in the playgroup in nursery. The nursery floor used to be strewn with books after kids have read them, and then books galore, meaning so many books, a huge variety of books. And honestly, to a reader, if you give them such a huge variety of books, right, a library is a paradise for me, right? People like me, we love going to libraries, and for me, you give me a book on any topic, I can just breeze through it within a day. I can read a book non-stop for a whole day. I don't even need food breaks or bathroom breaks. I'll just sit and read all day long. That is me personally. How many of you guys do that? Write down in the comment section below. Now, books cluttered up the nursery floor, and in the bedroom by the bed, more books waiting to be read. So, there's this, if you've seen Baby's Day Out, right? One wall of the kid's bedroom is filled with all these books which the kid chooses or the parents choose, right? Read a book to the kid every day. The kid is hearing new stories. That is a dream room for someone who reads a lot, okay? And actually, that used to be the situation sometimes, One wall would be a bookshelf and there would be so many books. Read whatever you want, and also by the bed. Sorry, there used to be books which you could read before going to bed. Now there's also this, you can say an exercise for those who want to learn English. You just 1 hour before you go to sleep, or 15 minutes also before you go to sleep, read a book. Probably sit on your bed nicely, comfortably, and read a book for 15 minutes. You will easily improve your vocabulary that way. Such wondrous, fine, fantastic tales of dragons, gypsies, queens and whales, and treasure isles and distant shores. Now he's saying that there would be such wondrous, fine, fantastic tales. He's saying that he's praising those tales which is read as a kid, those fairy tales, or you can say just those story books in general, right? The moral stories even. Of dragons, gypsies, queens and whales. What are the characters from the stories? Dragons, gypsies, queens and whales, treasure isles and distant shores. Now he's talking about all these characters. You need to remember these characters, okay? So yeah, you need to remember what characters he's mentioning and what are the tales about. These are not exactly the characters. The characters come in the future. This is what the tales were about. So the tales are about dragons, gypsies, queens, whales, treasure isles, distant shores, smugglers, pirates, sailing ships and elephants, and cannibals, etc. Okay, so now where smugglers rowed with muffled oars, and pirates wearing purple pants and sailing ships and elephants, and cannibals crouching round the pot stirring away at something hot. Next thing that those stories, not just those queens and gypsies and whales and distant shores, etc. The other things were smugglers who rode in muffled oars, pirates wearing purple pants. That itself is very funny, right? Pirate, how could you take a pirate seriously when he's wearing purple pants, right? Just bright purple pants with dark, dusty clothes, right? It would be so funny. And sailing ships and elephants, and cannibals crouching round the pot, stirring away at something hot. Now there are stories about cannibals and ships and elephants. Okay, about the cannibals in the hot pot. It smells so good. What can it be? Good gracious, it's Penelope. Oh my god. Now he's asking, oh my god, it's smelling so nice. What are the cannibals cooking in their pot? Good gracious, it's Penelope. Now Penelope is a mystical figure or character, you can say, who was eaten by cannibals, right? So this is, you can say, a joke kind of thing, the about stories about cannibals, and what are they eating? They're eating Penelope. The younger ones had Beatrix Potter with Mr. Todd the Dirty Rotter, and Squirrel Nutkin Pigling Bland, and Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, and just how the camel got his hump and how the monkey lost his rump. Okay, so now younger ones had Beatrix Potter. The babies, the kids, you can say, okay, those who are just reading, they had Beatrix Potter. This has nothing to do with Harry Potter, please. With Mr. Todd the Dirty Rotter. These are all characters now, okay? Whatever I have done, these wiggling lines and numbered, you need to mark them in your book as well and remember them to be the characters mentioned by Roald Dahl. Mr. Todd, the Dirty Rotter is not a character, it's a definition or description of Mr. Rotter. And Squirrel Nutkin Pigling Bland and Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. These are the characters, and there is stories, just how the camel got his hump and how the monkey lost his rump. Rump is a tail, right? So there are these random stories about, why do camels have a hump, and how a monkey got his tail cut off. If you have read moral stories as a kid, you would know this tale wherein a monkey tries to look at those woodcutters. So a woodcutter put a wedge in between his wood, and then he left because he had to cut it even more. So the monkey tries to pull out the wedge and cut the wood for himself, like the woodcutter. And he removes the wedge, but he cannot get up. Why? Because his tail is stuck in the log of wood. And as he tries to get up, once he does get up, his tail is it is still there in the wood, and he's just cut off his tail and he's jumped away. That's how a monkey loses his tail, right? This is a small story. That it used to be it was a moral story about how you should not copy everything others do. And Mr. Toad and bless my soul, there's Mr. Rat and Mr. Mole. These are all the characters. Oh books, what books they used to know, those children living long ago. So please, oh please, we beg, we pray, go throw your TV set away. He's saying that those books, those great tales, those funny characters and everything, those kids used to know, those who lived a long time ago, which is before the television was invented. Now he's asking, we beg, we pray, please just go through your television sets away. He's encouraging parents and kids alike to read more and make your kids read more. Just don't get so addicted to the television. Watching a movie once in a while, sitting with the family, it's all okay and good, but having that in a daily routine is really not important, right? And in its place, you can install a lovely bookshelf on the wall. Now he's also giving you an alternative, what to do with that free space, right? Set up a shelf over there, a bookshelf, a nice bookshelf where there'll be all sorts of books. The kids can pick a book once in a while and finish it, enjoy that new world, right? You might have heard this tale with the quote which says, a reader lives 1,000 lives, right? Someone who reads lives 1,000 lives. That is because they're reading so much. And especially if you read self-help books, autobiographies, you are getting to learn so much without making that mistake. You need not learn from your own mistakes, right? People are out there sharing their own mistakes, so you never make them. So go ahead, try to avoid those mistakes in your life. Okay, moving on. Then fill the shelves with lots of books, ignoring all the dirty looks, the screams and yells, the bites and kicks, and children hitting you with the sticks. Now he's saying that, what, just go and throw it away and, replace it with all the books that you want. He is telling them, just ignore the dirty looks that the kids are giving you, just replace the television set by books. The kids might not like you initially. They'll scream and they'll yell, they'll throw tantrums that they want to watch television. They'll bite and kick. Now kids would not do that, and if they do, they're spoiled kids, okay? Kids should not bite their parents or scream at their parents, especially toddlers, right? Even older kids should not do it, but if they do it, you can just tell them what to do. And at a young age, if kids are doing it, it's not good, right? They should know they should not shout at their parents. They should be kind of good to their parents and listen to whatever they say. Even if they do that, ignore it all, and the children hitting you with sticks, kids would definitely not do that, right? Kids would not hit their parents, of course, but even then, you can say sarcasm, if the kids are also hitting you with sticks, just ignore them. Fear not, because we promise you that in about a week or two of having nothing else to do, he's saying that, don't worry if the kids are throwing tantrums, they're yelling, they're crying and everything. We know that in a week or two, in a couple weeks, with having nothing to do with, they don't have a TV. A huge part of their day is now a free slot. They can do everything in the world, right? He's saying that with nothing else to do, they'll now begin to feel the need of having something to read. He's saying that with having nothing else to do in their daily the free time that they're having now, they'll find the feel to need. Come on, nothing's there in the room, no television. The next interesting thing for me is just books, right? If I'm that kid who's always watched the television, it is replaced by a bookshelf. Probably books are interesting enough. Let's try it out. I have nothing else to do. And once they start, oh boy, you watch the slowly growing joy that fills their hearts. He's saying that once they pick up a book and go through it, oh boy. It's like explanation. Oh God, you should see what happens next. You watch the slowly growing joy that fills their hearts. Reading books will give a different joy to kids. They imagine a different land. Even if the writer does not have exactly that thing in his mind, the kids while reading it can develop their own imagination. They can develop another land that they're interpreting the writing in the book to be. Also, they'll learn how to read, which is a good thing for kids as they're learning a new skill. They'll grow so keen, they'll wonder what they'd ever seen in that ridiculous machine. He's saying that they'll grow so keen, they'll grow so curious to know what happens next in the book that they're reading, what happens next in the story. And they'll wonder what they'd ever seen in that nauseating, foul, unclean, repulsive television screen. And later, each and every kid will love you more for what you did. Now, he's saying that those kids, they will just start ignoring everything else out there, right? They will start to love reading books and just that. They'll think that what have they ever seen at that television screen? That's such a nauseating, foul, unclean, repulsive. These are all the adjectives he's using for the television, right? So those things they'll start to forget, and they'll wonder why they'd ever turn to a television screen, and they'll start loving to read even more. And later, each and every kid will love you more for what you did. Now, this was it for the poem. What have we learned? Television is a bad thing. It's an idiotic thing, a monster, a nauseating, foul, unclean, repulsive thing, right? Roald Dahl clearly hates televisions, and he really wants to watch kids read, gain the knowledge by reading. Another thing that you can do to make your kids not watch television, take out some part of your time. They are your own kids. It's a duty that you should actually look after them very well. It's a duty of any new parent, right? Take them out, show them different things, introduce them to the outer world, right? Tell them about the sky, that there's something in the sky and something even beyond the sky that we cannot see. Tell them, the earth is not only a planet. There are so many things like earth, but only earth is where we live, right? Tell them all new things, and also teaching kids new things builds more, connections in the brain. So that makes a kid smarter, right? The impulses travel faster now. So it's very important that we do not rot a kid's brain by dumping trash into it, by letting them watch television all the time. And we should actually take measures to stop their television time and show them new things out there in the world. How many of you agree? Write down in the comment section below. And that's it for the video. Thanks for watching.